G'day, are career tests accurate? Here's the go. You only want to use career tests as a guide. So why would you want to do that? Because when you do a career test, and this includes something like, a Myers-Briggs or a DISC, or there's like a whole buffet of different types of career tests available for you. But you want to make sure you get very clear on the reason why you're going in there so you don't lose focus of yourself, which is kind of the irony because of why you're doing a test. Anyway, the point is that when you go and do a career test, you need to be watchful that you don't get boxed in by the label that it gives you. What does that mean? So anytime you do a career test, it's going to tell you, you need to go and be a doctor, you need to go and be an electrician, you need to go and do X, or you are an extrovert, or you are an introvert, or you are a people person, you need to work on your own, you don't work well with teams. It will give you labels, which is the whole point of a career test. It's supposed to get you to get to know yourself better, which is why it gives you labels. But you've got to be very careful that if it's going to give you a label, it's going to stunt your growth. Because anytime that you and I, the way we behave, the way we execute in our work, in our personal life, in our professional life, is based on the behavior or the person that we identify with. So if I identify as a Muslim, I deliver myself, I'm going to represent myself in a particular, I'm going to represent myself in a particular way. So as a Buddhist would, as a Christian would, as a Jew would, as agnostic would. So the way we identify ourselves is the way that we pretty much represent ourselves in the world, how we come across. So now you add to that the flavor of some test telling you that you are this kind of person, or you are that kind of person, you're an introvert or you're an extrovert or whatever you might be, then you will start behaving according to the label that is given you, that test has given you. Why? Because that's the way we're wired. We act according to our identity. And if we take that identity, that label that the career test gives us, we will ingrain that in our minds, we will ingest it, we will digest it, we will put that into the subconscious, and then we will act out that way. But the real challenge is, say you get given an opportunity. You get given an opportunity to go and speak somewhere or travel somewhere, but you identify yourself, your labeling is, but I'm an introvert. And then the internal dialogue will start cutting through. You're like, can I do it? Am I enough? I haven't been out of the house for like 7 years. Those negative niggling thoughts are going to come into each in your mind. And then what happens is that's all a result of the fact that you were allowing a label to really impede on your thinking. But really what it comes down to, a career test, if you're taking a career test, what it's really saying is you want something outside of you to tell you what you should do. When really the whole job of school, of university or college was to do that. We all know they didn't do a very good job of doing that. But if you think of it, throughout your whole life, you've gone to school. And in school, from the time you're in kindergarten to the time that you graduate, if the teacher said you did a great drawing, you felt like, I did a great drawing. If the teacher said that was a fantastic essay, I felt like that was a really great essay. So the endorsement always came from external to us, right? It always came from outside of us. But if the teacher didn't compliment, if she didn't kind of encourage or endorse, then we kind of felt like, this lacked something because we didn't get the mark for it. Then that's the same thing happened when we went to university or college. It's the same thing. If the professor, if the tutor gives us the thumbs up, well, then we think we are the ants' pants. We've got it made, right? Then you get into the workforce. And if the boss endorses you, well, then it's a thumbs up. The fact that you get a pay every week, every fortnight, every month endorses your work. And so that conditioning now has come throughout adulthood. And you're conditioned, you and I, to look outside of ourselves for someone to say that that's great or that's the next thing you should be doing. When in fact, the worst thing that you can be doing, hey Maylee, the worst thing that you can be doing is looking outside of yourself, because that is a tall tale sign. It's a tall tale sign that you need to have introspection. Because here's another thing that a career test will do. Say an opportunity comes, you will not take it, because once again, you will identify, watching from Canberra, welcome. You will identify with the behavior, the identity that you have. Now, here's what's really, really interesting. The fact that you are looking outside of yourself, see, who you are today is going to change a week from now. a month from now, a year from now, guaranteed you're going to change in some way. And as you evolve, so too does your passion. But you won't allow your passion to evolve, no, because you've already labeled yourself based on a career test that you are a certain type of person. And if you're labeling yourself as a certain type of person, and then you will bury that next evolution of your passion. Because like say for an example, an accountant goes and studies for how many years, practices being an accountant, and then one day he gets a feeling, an urge, an evolution of his passion to maybe go be a travel blogger, maybe go on safari and do photography. But his labeling is that, well, actually, I can't, I'm not good enough. I'm not very good at traveling. I'm not good at speaking. I'm not good at taking pictures. All the reasons why it can't happen will take over because his label of what he ingrained in his mind from a career test is what's taking over. And so he will put a lid on it, seal it, that intuition, because it doesn't align with his identity. Can you see how it can stunt your growth? Can you see how you have to be very careful when you approach a career test? That you need to, number one, know that you're looking outside of yourself, so that is a tall tale sign. But if you go and do one, I'm not saying don't do it, I'm just saying here's what to watch out for. If you're going to do one, then you need to be very clear that you are going to just take it at its paper value and understand that you will evolve. And so too does your identity need to evolve so that you can execute on that next level of passion. The last thing I'm going to say about career tests and, are they accurate? Not at all. Is because you have to create your own path. And what the hell does that mean? In school, from grade 1 to grade 12, you had U1, U2, U3, U4, right? There was a written path. Then college and university, you have to do these set of subjects first year to get your degree. Then the second set of subjects second year to get the degree, right? There's a clear path. Then when you enter the corporate field, there is a path that you need to go through. May take long, may take short, but there is a path that you need to go to get to where you want to be. But when you have a passion, dear God, there ain't no path. On the Unbox Your Give podcast, I interviewed a gentleman who is a pastor of a church, and he wanted to create this thing called the shoe that grows. If you haven't heard that podcast, go listen to it. It's incredible. This guy wanted to create a shoe that grows. Why? Because he wanted to help orphans. He wanted to create a shoe that would grow with a child's foot so that they wouldn't have to be without shoes. Now, the thing is, there was no path. Nobody had created something like that. Nobody had a business model like that. He had to find his own way, which is why he creates the biggest impact for himself. Forget anyone else. But if you follow a career test couldn't have told him, you need to go and create this shoe that grows. And a career test would have said to him, actually, you need to go and do X, Y, Z, because there's only certain answers you can get from a career test. Sorry, microphone. There's only certain answers you can get from a career test. It won't allow you to unbox your gift. Can you see that? Monica Viella, who had an online shoe store. I interviewed her on the Unbox Your Give podcast. And she had an online shoe store. And one day she's walking in Chicago and she sees a homeless man holding up a sign that says, "I need shoes." And she thinks to herself, well, I sell women's shoes, but I don't have any men's shoes. How can I help him? And she goes home, thinks of an idea of give back box. And she has lined herself up with people like Amazon, some of the biggest names, biggest corporates, and created this affiliate program called Gift Back Box, where if you order something from Amazon, you get that package in a box, obviously. And then in the box, there is a note that says any clothes you want to donate, any shoes, anything that you want to donate. You put it in the box, you seal it, and there's an address on it. The box automatically goes to a charity. You don't have to drive around looking for a charity. It saves you time, makes you feel good, makes the company feel good. And she's created her own path, Monica Viella. And so she didn't look for a career test. A career test can't tell you that path. A career test can't tap into your full potential. Only you can do that, because sight is what we see with our eyes. Insight is what we see with our heart. So how do we create insight? How do we create introspection? How do we find that thing? Well, how the hell do we do it? Okay, if it's so lovely, how the hell do we do it? We do it by, number one, recognizing that what you're looking for is not in a career test. Your unique God-given path that you have been placed to do cannot be put into a one-size-fits-all career test where you are going to be spitting out an answer, or the career test is going to spit an answer. You should be this or you should be that. It doesn't know you. You haven't that test hasn't tasted the world the way you've tasted it, the way you've seen it, the way you've heard it. That's your own flavor. That's what you bring to the world. And you can't put it in a vanilla flavor. That's what you give to the world. So number one, recognize that you need introspection. So go and do the passion process. It's free on unboxyourgift.com. It's a process. It's not a test. It will tell you how to create introspection and find what you need to do. If you don't want to do that, there's a lady I read about who had 25 careers in 12 months. She planned out her year and she had a new job every 2, 3, 4 weeks or so. If you don't want to do that, I interviewed a lady on the Unbox Your Gift podcast who took a gap year in her 40s. In her 40s. Now, if you don't want to do that, you can't do a gap year in your 40s or your 30s or your 20s or your 50s, or you don't want to be able to plan out a year and taste different careers, then go do the passion process. It's there, it's available, it's free. You just got to get inside it. But that's the hardest thing, trying to get inside of your own mind. Because it's easier to pay a test. It's easier to pay someone to say, you do it for me. But nobody can do that part for you, right? And so if you do it for yourself, or if you don't do the passion process, then figure out another way. Figure out another way that you can create that for yourself. And then lastly, I want to leave you this with, to create introspection, you need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that's how you create your own path. Now, I've been interviewing these people on my Unbox Your Gift podcast, and God knows I've learned a lot from them. And one thing I challenge myself with is to do something that I'm uncomfortable with. Monica Viella, who created Give Back Box, she came to the US, didn't know how to write English, and basically started scratching from the ground up. And I said to her, what's your next big thing that you want to do, right? She said, I want to move to China. I can't speak the language. I don't know anyone there, but that's what's going to push me to my next level. So this is my minute level of pushing myself. The past 2 weeks, or last week and this week, I'm doing an experiment, and it's the video's down the bottom if you want to do it yourself. It's called the coffee experiment. And every time I'm buying a coffee for the next 10 coffees, I'm asking, can I get a 10% discount? Why am I doing that? Because it's bloody uncomfortable. It's like totally uncomfortable to ask for a 10% discount at a coffee shop when it's not the dumb thing to do. But it's not about getting a yes or no from the barista and saying yes they will or no they won't. It's about me getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. Because as long as I and you and we can push the boundaries, then we're getting to the next step of our evolution. We are creating that secret sauce, our own path. That is not in a one-size-fits-all career test. That's not in the path that's taken by someone else, because your flavor has to be added. That's why you've tasted life the way you have. And so my invitation, my encouragement, my advice to myself and to you is that the unboxing part of your gift is the most important part of it, because you could discover what your passion is, but might restrict it because you've got a label on you, or you won't allow it to evolve. The best way to understand what your specific passion is, minus the distraction of what's my title going to be, what's my status going to be, am I going to be a manager, am I going to be at this level, am I going to have prestige, am I going to have the respect, am I going to have the money, am I going to have all those adult stuff, that we kind of distract ourselves with, which is fine, nothing wrong with that, but it just doesn't add anything if you don't have your passion. If you have your passion plus that, now we got something happening. But the point of it is, if you can go and find introspection, go take a gap year, go try 25 careers in 1 year, go do the passion process, or go find another way, then once you do that, push the boundaries, go get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Do things that really scare you. I did the coffee experiment. I'm about to take up archery, and I'm about to take up fencing. It's out of my league. It's out of my comfort zone. Never done it. But I'm about to do it because as long as I can push, I know that I can unbox my gift and set a path that's beyond the dream. So just like the shoe that grows and Give Back Box, that's the juice and the impact that separates. And you probably haven't even heard of those people, but the impact is so large because of the work that they do. They're not branded names. They're not celebrity names. The Give Back Box and the shoe that grows. but their work impacts so many lives that's the real juice. That's the real unboxing of the gift. When your life, when the value that you add with your work creates a momentous movement, and your work precedes you. Like, that's reducing ego. That's taking ego out of the game and just having your work represent you. And that's just the golden spot, right? Wouldn't you agree? So guys, I wanted to share that with you. Are career tests accurate? Watch, if you're going to do one, be very careful, be mindful, go rewind this, go back to it and just take down the gems, and remember to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because life is a gift. Unbox it. Catch you soon.